Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel. Is Mark Carpel. I'm CEO and founder of both companies, and today we're going to have our weekly strategy roundtable discussion where we talk about current market conditions and answer any questions you might have. This is my brief bio for those of you who are new. My background is in technology. I have a master's degree in computer science, specializing in artificial intelligence. I worked as a CTO and executive in several fintech startups here in Chicago, hedge funds, Options Express went public, broker dealer. So I've been doing that for over 15 years, mentoring and teaching subscribers how to trade stock and options. And Keith Harwood joined me about 2 years ago from Option Hotline, and he brings a lot of background in trading. He used to work for hedge funds and on the floor of exchange. Disclosures are very important. Please read them. If you haven't read them before, I encourage you to visit optionscreening.com to understand the risk associated with trading stock and options. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not registered with FINRA or SEC. I'm here to show you what I do in my own account based on my own level, my own risk tolerance level. All right, let's take a look at the market. Market had a strong rally today. If you look at the stock in our live trading room, we're looking at the stock forecast toolbox, basically showing that the uptrend continues. Right, strong uptrend. 700 is a support. 707 is overhead resistance. This was published last night before the announcement of allowing ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. And we are trading right at this predicted high 708, and passive list resistance is to continue going higher. 700 has been a very strong support. We consolidated for the past 6 months, unable to break it. Now that we're above that level, I think the market will, especially if there is no escalation in the Middle East and earnings season is still strong, then passive list resistance is going to be to continue going higher. So that's stock forecast toolbox. If you zoom out into 6 months using the same tool, I actually have to relog in. Hold on a second. If you zoom out to 6 months, for spiders, still an uptrend. So the model did a good job predicting that even on April 1st, kind of in the middle of the war, that the long trend is still intact, but it did not see a breakout until May or June, right? More likely June. So the momentum is accelerating behind the bulls. We're already at 701, 710, right? So next level will be 730, I would say 730. And what used to be a support, overhead resistance, is now becoming a support. So 700, 7,000. We looked at the 7,000 level in SPX. You can clearly see that 7,000 was the strong positioning, and now the gamma is shifting from 7,000 level. Gamma flip 6438. I think it's so well entrenched, positive territory, supported by broker dealers, and we're at 7,100, right? And then the next level is 7,150 and 7,200, right? Those are where people are already started building their positions. But first thing first, 7,000 is your main support, and the bulls want the market to stay above 7,000. In terms of if you look at the May or June, 7,300, right? You could be at 7,300. That's what the model sees. Right? Scenario number 1, we could be higher. Scenario number 2, we're just trading in this range. Maybe there is escalation in the Middle East, and then we're trading between, if you look at the probability between 6,800 and 7,300. Scenario 3, maybe the war restarts, maybe boots on the ground, or signs of recession, interest rates going higher, and then you have scenario number 3. So, I think, again, scenario number 2, this is a very strong support. I would be surprised if the market drops below 6,800. So by May, June, it is reasonable to assume that we could be at 73, 7,400. I don't think we're going to get much further than that, but it is reasonable to assume 7,300, 7,400 by June, end of June. So that's my take on the market. I would be buyer on pullbacks. Short-term market is overbought, obviously. It's been overbought for the past, few sessions. But it does make sense to buy on pullbacks. So speaking of buying, today I bought. So what do we have? In addition to the stock forecast toolbox, which gives you predictions, right, support and resistance levels. You can type in any ETF or stock and look at these predictions, right? You can look at the company screener. Right? You can say, okay, as of April 1st, which sectors were leading? Aerospace and defense were leading the market. Semiconductors were leading the market. Energy were leading the market. Obviously, today energy is down on the news, but as of April 1st, these were the leaders in the market. Right? And you can type in your symbols that you're managing and look at your portfolio as well. So today we have Microsoft as a signal, NTAP as a signal, Twilio, and Western Union. And you can find these signals here under Active Trader. Right. So in terms of signals that model generates, every day is Active Trader. It's meant to short-term aggressive traders. Weekly Trader is a medium term. Gets published every Sunday. Weekly and monthly Trader takes longer-term perspective. Weekly, the idea is to hold a position for a few weeks. Monthly idea is to hold position for a few months, right? So weekly on Monday, model published that Netflix was in strong uptrend. Obviously, prior to earnings, TJX was an uptrend. TJX is actually recovering today, and railroads are also breaking out. So this is how you can get weekly and monthly signals, right? And then if you want to see what I trade, then that's Elite Circle. In Elite Circle today, I bought Microsoft, bought Citigroup, right? Those were the recent signals. Closed my hedges, SH, QQQ. So I'm trading both stock and options, right? And close Apple. This was a signal from last week, and I traded at Apple. So these are type of the signals you can expect, both stock and options. You can see all my trades under Elite Circle. If you're just looking for option spreads, once a week published signals. So this was on Monday, published Apple, right? This was a quick trade where I opened the positions, $3, closed it at $3.80. Right? So every week on Sunday we publish the premium pick. I trade spreads. You can follow and trade stock or options. You can also participate in Robo-Investor. This is all the stock trades that we're doing. And then let's see. What else? You can register for live trading room. So these are the services that we offer. We do have newsletters, so please add info@tradespoon.com so you get our emails to your email provider. To whitelist our email address. You'll get the newsletters, you get the video recordings. And there's a lot of, the Learning Center has a trading guide. It has a recording of the workshop, broken down by, a lot of topics that you can learn from. And we do have smart trading guides, a short-term trading plan, long-term trading plan, kind of using as a template. I do encourage you, if you're looking for short-term or long-term trading plan, to contact us, schedule consultation with Keith, find the time that's convenient for you, schedule consultation with Keith, and he can help you build your own trading plan or answer any questions about subscription or market in general. Andrei, welcome back. Trader, welcome back. Any questions? All right, so in terms of today's action, just to recap, 10-year yield dropped below 4.30, right? It didn't break the lows, the April lows, the regional announcement of the ceasefire, but definitely in the right direction. Dollar did break down below the ceasefire, so dollar continues to sell off. VIX 17 handle, so VIX is down. Value stocks are doing a catch-up trade. They're not at all-time high, but you do see a kind of a breakout. Definitely technology is leading the rally, right? So technology, the expectation that the earnings are going to be strong and technology continues to rally. Semiconductors already broke out. Small caps today are breaking out. So you have a breakout in small caps. Regional banks are moving higher. Silver, right? Silver, gold, all of that kind of highly correlated to the market right now. Technology, copper, they're all grinding higher. Emerging market, right? Weaker dollar, emerging market is making new all-time high. Bitcoin is still, it's up today, but still very bearish price pattern. But it is trying to break through this downtrend. We'll see if it continues. And then biggest sell-off is in crude oil. Crude oil is at the same level that when the war started. And Brent and gasoline futures price action. NVIDIA is underperforming. NVIDIA is still not at all-time high, but it's 200 level, a lot of overhead resistance at 200 level. I would watch that. SPX is above 1377,000, which is important, and you have silver and gold. All right, any other questions? Renata, Coinbase also rally. So software in general, across the board rally, it kind of facing this overhead resistance at 215. It's unable to break through that level. We see across software names, similar price pattern, right? So I would watch IGV, right, and see if it can break out of this level. Let's look at the weekly chart. Maybe it'll be helpful, right? But this is important overhead resistance. IGV needs to clear that 89.90 strike. I would probably 90 strike, right? So the software has to trade above 90 level, right? There's a very high position at this level, a lot of overhead resistance. And you can look at Oracle, right? All the software names, right? As we approach in earnings, very similar price pattern. Oracle Twilio was the signal in the past couple of days. Right, so they're facing overhead resistance as the earnings next 2 weeks. We're going to have tech stocks announcing earnings, and then assuming geopolitical situation doesn't change, everybody's going to keep an eye on the technology earnings. So far, TSM, at all-time high, but earnings were not anything above the expectations, so I don't see a big breakout, but nonetheless, all-time high. I guess the bar is raised higher. ASML had earnings, right? Same price action, same setup. Actually sold off after the earnings and now rebounded. So, we already have some earnings trickling where things are, not as bad as everybody's feared. Banks said, record revenue, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs are doing well. Investment banking is doing well, healthy consumer. So, next week we'll get more earnings. I'm going to start getting earnings from Texas Instrument, IBM, then Microsoft, Apple, and that will give us SoFi. Did they have? Ally had earnings. I think SoFi looks good, right? Same price pattern as any software. This is more of a combination of finance, leasing, AI, but it looks the same as Microsoft or Twilio, right? So my opinion is the same, right? It needs to get through that overhead resistance, but I actually bought Microsoft today. So if I bought Microsoft, and if I'm bullish on Microsoft, I have to be bullish on SoFi. They're highly correlated. They're going to move in the same direction. I'm a little concerned that we need to break through that level, right? But assuming assuming there's no escalation in the Middle East, I think we will, right? Stocks like Microsoft are way oversold on the fear of, private credit, right? This private credit exposure, right? 35% down. You have to have something fundamentally wrong with the company, right? Or some kind of fear. So I think this fear is overblown. Obviously, this is, I would say, above average volume. We need to follow through next week, but I think, we could see all-time highs again. Renato, thank you. Any other stocks to analyze? What else stands out today? Retail sector. So retail, strong rebound in XRT, right? So your targets, your TGX are rebounding. Obviously, a sharp pullback in energy names. Metals and miners resume its upward momentum. Alcoa, aluminum, copper, gold, silver. Consumer discretionary, Teslas of the world, very strong performance, doing the catch-up trade. Healthcare, catching a bit. Utilities at all-time high. People are rotating into risk on trade like technology, XLK, all-time high. Industrials, almost at all-time high. Financials are doing the catch-up trade. Energy is down. We talked about that. Materials are almost at all-time. Even home builders rally, right, on interest rates. The home builders are up 6% on lower interest rates. Biotech breaking out again, consolidated. So biotech, I would look for small caps biotech as a place to, it's a high beta trade, but you do see a breakout. And this widening, this widening of participation makes sense. Value stocks are up. Even REITs are almost at all-time highs. VIX at 17. So broad-based participation, right? If you look at the percentage of stocks above 20-day moving average, very strong momentum, right? Big momentum. We went from 20% or 17% to back to 80. So we're getting into these overbought levels, right? 90 is probably where I would say it's overbought, but it's a strong momentum, and it shows that it's a healthy kind of momentum, just like in April of last year, and then you have a continuation in April, May, June. And seasonality does help, right? April, May, June, July in the past few years have been, from seasonality point of view, was very supportive of the market momentum to the upside. Any questions? All right, Netflix, let's go. I have a credit put spread I did and credit call spread. So we do earnings, right? This week, earnings was a good trade, JP Morgan, right? So these are more aggressive trades where I'm looking, if I sell premium, maybe 20-30% return in one day. So JP Morgan was the earnings trade this week. I was able to collect 70 cents, right? 71 cents and close it for 10. So 60 cents profit overnight, right? On the $1.80 risk, right? So about 30% return overnight. Sometimes I'm long volatility, then you could have higher, you could have 50, 100% return. But these are aggressive trades. Once a week, you'll get an alert on earnings. So consider signing up for Elite Circle. You'll get text messages. You can participate in live trading room, right? We do give 30-day money back guarantees. So, go to pricing and select service that, makes sense for you, right? Premium is these weekly option trades. Vlad's portfolio, you see access to all of my portfolios. Elite Circle, you get access to all the trades, right? All right. Any other questions? What else is interesting? Nvidia is at session high. Let's see. So I'm trying to not be a Tesla, trying to. All right. Any other questions? Palantir? I'm not sure what $200 stock. Palantir, I mean, it's part of the software, right? Microsoft, SoFi, it's the same price band, right? It's facing this overhead resistance at 150 strike. It's going to go where QQQ is going to go, and it's going to go where Microsoft and software stocks are going to go. Highly correlated. Keep in mind, all of these stocks are highly correlated. You want to be diversified, right? Going back to the rules, right? You do want to consider, in terms of portfolio allocation. Sorry. Right, you want to have 30% of your portfolio in cash, and you want to keep a non-portfolio drawdown, right? Today somebody said, I feel like a kid in a candy store. You do, you have that fear of missing out, right? The train is leaving and you don't have, enough exposure, and you just want to go all in. And this is the first thing you want to write down in your journal, right? That how you feel, fear of missing out, and then go back to your written down trading plan and not break rules. Right, I would reduce your cash position. If you were 30 or 50% in cash, maybe it makes sense to be 20, 30% in cash now, but I would still have 20% in cash, right? At least. I would look at the portfolio drawdown, right? Number of positions times position size. So still, especially if you're new to trading, only have 4 positions, maximum risk at 2.5. And keep in mind, if you have Palantir, SoFi, Microsoft and Oracle, they're all highly correlated. You might think their business model are different, or small caps or biotech. You might think that they are, different business models or different industries, but they're still moving in the same direction, right? And highly correlated to each other. And risking 2.5% of value per position. Still, you can express long short buys. I would buy into pullbacks now, right? I'm maybe not at this point. I'm maybe too late to chase the market unless you had a lot of cash you want to deploy it. But if you already have long positions, I would wait, right? If you already only have 20% in cash. All right. Any other questions? All right. If there are no other questions, then that's all I have for today. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Jay, Ed, Joseph, Kevin, Rel, Renata, Tim. Thank you guys. Take care.